Thank you for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to be talking about assessing welfare. And welfare is something that each animal experiences individually. And good welfare is not just about being able to cope in the environment or being able to function properly. It's also about enjoying life and experiencing pleasure. So it's really about a good quality of life. So good welfare is not just about surviving, it's also very much about thriving, which is a great slogan actually. And you can assess welfare in many different ways using many different kinds of welfare indicators. And in this video I'm just going to share a few examples and I hope to share some valuable insights. Let's get started. To start off, I think it's important to note that it's currently not possible to do a welfare assessment that is 100% objective and scientifically validated. So I need to be aware that when I'm assessing welfare, a large amount of my assessment is going to be subjective. And that also means that the reliability of a welfare assessment will strongly depend on the amount of knowledge that the assessor has. And when I say amount of knowledge, I don't just mean theoretical knowledge, studying welfare, studying the welfare needs of the species that you're assessing. I also mean practical experience. You need a lot of practical experience, and the more experience that you have and the more knowledge that you have, the more reliable your welfare assessment is going to be. And when I'm assessing the welfare of a dog, in example, during a family visit, I'll always try to gather as much information as possible. I usually use a questionnaire where I have a lot of background information already planted in my brain. And of course I observe while I'm there. And I always consider different types of welfare indicators. Some will be animal-based welfare indicators, so that will be about me observing the animal, and others will be environment-based welfare indicators. So looking at the living environment of the animal and what the animal is being exposed to. Those will both give me information about the physical well-being of the dog, the emotional well-being, and the well-being in regards to behavioral welfare needs. And to give you some examples about assessing the physical well-being of a dog, I'll be looking at the body condition, so the weight of the dog. Some dogs overweight, other dogs can be underweight. I'll also look at the coat condition. If there are coat patterns, hairs standing up, which catch my eye, and I'll be like, why are those hairs standing up on the back of the dog, in example. And I'll combine that information with looking at how the dog is moving. It can be very valuable to study the anatomy of dogs, but also how dogs move. They have 6 different types of gait, and I've learned to recognize these. And when a dog changes gait, you can sometimes see anomalies. That could be an indicator for, pain or joint issues. Pain is the best word for it, because I'm not a vet and I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not a specialist. So I'll be looking for pain indicators, and if I see those, I'll recommend the caregivers to go see a specialist for further information, for a better assessment. But I'll also be looking at how the dog is moving and how the dog will sit and lie down. Not that I'll be asking the dog to sit, I usually don't do that, but while I'm there, I'll see the dog moving around in the living room and I'll see how they lie down. And sometimes that'll also, you have to really train your eye to see anomalies. And I also look at how the dog distributes its weight across the paws. Sometimes you can see when a dog is standing still that it's actually standing on 3 paws and keeping 1 paw out of the loop, and that'll also be an indicator for pain. So I'll be looking at that, and I'll also be looking at the living environment. An example, really slippery floors could be harder, or if the floors are really slippery, the dog will have to use more muscle to keep balance on those floors. So that could also be indicators. Is there soft bedding for the dog to lie on? Those sort of things I'll be looking at. There's so much more in regards to physical well-being. I'm trying to think of some more examples. Yes, asking about the dog's resting behavior. How much sleep is the dog getting? And it's not just about lying still, it's also about experiencing the deep sleep, dreaming, stuff like that. That you'll know the dog has time to recover from, what it experiences during the day or night. The dog needs to have enough sleeping time. That'll also impact its physical well-being. I think I have enough indicators there. The body, the coat, movement, the amount of sleep and rest. Those are all important indicators for the physical well-being of the dog. So moving on to the emotional well-being, and do take note that the physical well-being and the emotional well-being and the behavioral well-being of the dog are strongly connected to each other. So it's not, I'm dividing them into 3 domains, but they're strongly connected. They're actually a whole. But if I look at the emotional well-being of dogs, trying to assess that, it's very important to be able to recognize stress. And fortunately, there have been body language signals that have been scientifically related to stress. So some signals can be reliable stress indicators, but it's not just the severe stress. You also need to be able to recognize subtle signs of stress. And what I'll also be looking for is the recovery speed that a dog has after mild emotional challenges. And I never have to set up a dog to experience stress to see its recovery speed. I never have to do that. One of the first challenges that the dog has to deal with is me entering the home. So while I'm entering the home, the dog is having to deal with an unknown person entering the house, and I can already observe what happens there. The stress levels will rise, and I'll be looking at how long does it take for the dog to settle and to relax. And sometimes that never happens, and that can be a strong indicator that the emotional well-being is being compromised somewhere. So I look at the recovery speed as well, and I'll also be looking at the behavior not only in negative sense but also in a positive sense. So I'll be looking if the dog is optimistic or more pessimistic. And what I mean with that is, does the dog in interaction with its environment have positive expectations as a first go-to, or does it have negative expectations? And me entering the home can already give me some information about that as well. But also interactions with family members, caregivers, or the surroundings. They can give me information about the emotional vibe that the dog has. So is it more optimistic or is it more pessimistic? And I'm saying it, but I obviously mean he or her when I'm talking about dogs, because they're living beings, they're not things. This will also help me, and I think it's important to stress that it's not just about stress, it's not just about negative indicators. I also very much look at the positive things. So if a dog is really enthusiastic, is very socially outgoing, is showing affection towards the caregivers and trust, that'll all give me an indication or help me to assess the emotional well-being of the dog. And in regards to behavioral well-being, I'll be asking about what kind of activities does the dog get to do during the day? Does he get to be a dog? Like, are there outlets for breed-specific behaviours? In example, grabbing toys or tearing them apart, or digging or chasing, playing with other dogs or with humans, and depending on the individual needs, because needs will differ per dog. And I'll be asking about, what does your day look like on a working day? What does your day look like on a free day on average? How long is the dog left alone? That'll all give me information about the behavioural well-being of the dog. And of course, I'll also be looking at the living environment. Is the dog lying there being bored all day, or is the dog stimulated mentally and physically? So those are indicators for the behavioural well-being of the dog. They can be very valuable as well. And all of this information combined, and I'm only giving a few examples, there's a lot more going on in my head. In example, I forgot to say that one of the first things that I do when I walk into a room and there's a dog there is I'll be scanning if there's a water ball there. I have that very often at the office. When there are dogs at the office, I'll be walking in, I'll see a dog and I'll be like, where's the water ball? Because I'm also always thinking about they need access to fresh drinking water, always. So there are a lot of things that I haven't discussed in this video, but I have, on my website, I have articles on all the welfare needs of dogs. So do check that out if you want to learn more. But I also wanted to say that during home visits, I'm not only looking at the dog, I'm also assessing the welfare of the humans that I'm working with. So I've also studied human body language, and with humans, it's the same as with dogs. The more you know, the more you've learnt, the more reliable your assessment is going to be. And the more time that you've spent with the animal that you're assessing, or the humans, and I call humans animals, sorry, but I think we are animals. The more time you've spent with them, the more reliable your assessment is also going to be. But it's important to say that I don't just look at the welfare of the dog, I also look at the welfare of the humans that I'm working with, because that will impact their capabilities and the opportunities that are there to improve welfare of the dog, but also the welfare of the family members. Thank you for making it through to the end of this video. If you'd like to see more videos, please subscribe to my channel or give me a thumbs up, because that will motivate me to start making more videos. And I hope to see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.